This is the Sleepy Bones Detective Agency. Quick! Turn off that blasted television! The radio is here! My name is Jake Lucy, and I am the funk master flex of storytelling, in the sense that I am an unlockable character in the 2003 video game Def Jam Vendetta. Come on! Pick me! Put me up against Ludacris and see what happens this time! Today, I have brought you 2 scrumptious surreal snack wraps for you to stuff into your silly little mouth, pig boy. First up on this sticky dinner tray that we call the Bone Zone Half Hour, a chunky little number called Welcome to the Frank Uture. After 317 hours, the laser-sharp metabars of my 2x4 holding cell shut off, and I am ushered as far backwards as I can go, which is approximately 1.5 steps, depending on the size of your boots. On inorganic treads, head made out of a square pixel screen displaying the digital image of what I imagine to be a stern father, enters a cop droid, a robot familiar only to the jailers they assist, or the lawyers they replaced, charged with the task of validating my confession. I have, of course, already been found guilty. And rightly so, 'cause I did do it. I just thought I'd get away with it, so much happens in the megacity you'd think one little murder might go unnoticed.
Rod, shit pocket, Wilder!
The cop droid addresses me. Now is the time for the truth. Speak clearly into the microphone and preserve your actions. From its chassis, just above the gap between its treads, extends a long, silver microphone. Start from the beginning. Well, I ain't starting from the beginning, 'cause in the beginning, I was being pulled, kicking and screaming from my mama's grundle. But when I got to the scene of the crime, I remember hearing him crunching away behind a red and white striped beach privacy tent. What's going on? He's eating a goddamn clock. What do you think he was doing? Eating a clock? A goddamn hand clock, too. Dunno where he keeps getting them from, Haven't seen one of them since I was a grubbin', said the chief, holding up the waistband of his electric pants. They were running low on charge, and there wasn't an outlet for miles. Guy's a full-on goon, lad, but he does what he does so we can all go home early to our unsatisfied wives and our big old bowls of Spinko brand dog slop. Aw, man, piped up one of the other rookies on the scene. I fucking love dog slop. Ain't no slop like dog slop, chimed in the last of us. Of course, the crime scene was as familiar to me as the back of my own face. We were in an alley that the locals referred to as Sludge Town. At one point, this concrete river running between 2 mega buildings connected H-style was home to a tent city. About 4 years ago, after one of the residents accidentally flushed their cyber-wise eyeball, Riverside's entire sewer system backed up into this free space, and the smell has never really gone away. The corpse, my corpse, well, not my corpse, but the one that I put there, lay on the brown-washed pavement not breathing, a sure sign that I'd done what needed to be done. As a junior detective, I didn't have much to do at the time. I hadn't worked a scene like this before. I didn't think I'd get assigned to it, but I had to show up for there to be any chance of my getting to sleep at night without a lead suppository. As a general rule, the cybo-brass always call in private detectives when a cop has been found dead, since it's almost always another cop that's done it. But I didn't realize they had staffers on the sidelines too. I knew the deal. Keep my nose out of his technologically enhanced line of sight until he could solve the case for us, and then we'd get to take all of the credit, both figuratively and literally, in the sense that we all refer to our money as credits. As it hit the pavement, the raindrops sizzled like hot oil and caught my attention. I once heard somebody describe the sky above the Riverside district as like the color of a television screen, jostling and jittering, with the cold wind and hot rain like vacant station static, which is a very specific Very unusual metaphor to hear these days, considering it is the year 3000 or thereabouts, and everybody that has seen what a proper analog television looks like has been dead for about 1,000 years. Riverside might not have televisions, but that's because it doesn't need them. Plastered to every free space on every building, bridge and bus stop are paper-thin displays which broadcast competing, uninterrupted streams of hypnotic advertisements and procedurally generated video content that can, at times, be mistaken for entertainment, providing that the audience in question has been hit on the back of the head with a hammer. One such screen was jerking on my attention, once I got the stinging rain out of my eyes. That was my mistake. Looking up, I mean. It was affixed to the lip of the mag rail bridge, blasting an endless stream of quote-unquote news at 192 frames a second, all day, every day. Exo-capitalist propaganda from the digital gobs of 3D, computer-generated, artificially intelligent wank jockeys. You can thank the BF-BBCF, known at length as the Big Future British Broadcasting Corporation of the Future, for that. The BF-BBCF. The F stands for future, and the other F stands for future too. Private Detective Frank Uture stepped out from behind his privacy screen with a bloody mouth and tremors in his steps like they'd installed all his bones upside down and the wrong way around. In this unreported burn storm, Frank had on a pair of partially translucent, leather-look, recycled plastic-looking khakis. Partially translucent in the sense that I could see the end of his cock, but not his thighs, shins, or balls. A white tank-top vest accumulated splatters and stains from the yellow-tinted, chemically altered rainfall, which were similar to, but distinct from, stains that could be attributed to the yellow-tinted, chemically superior to oxygen hue of an 8-pack-a-day cigarette habit, as well as the yellow-tinted, chemically altered to resemble the original flavor spillage of pseudo-mustard from the takeaway dog slop he'd eaten about 15 minutes prior to our introduction. Frank opened his mouth, stuck out his mangled tongue with all the sharp little shards sticking out of it like he'd just sucked on the end of a fiberglass cigarette, and went, "Ah!" to prove he had, in fact, swallowed the whole clock, hands and all. I was then instructed to wail on him with a big metal stick to, quote, ring in the dang old New Year. And by the grace of the machine god, I hit that fucking guy as hard as I could. Let's be real here, I know I'm getting the death penalty so I want to say that I was definitely trying to whack him when I whacked him. But all I managed to do was knock him clean out for a bit. He hit the deck like I'd slurried his spine, but all the incoherent sleep babbling he was doing made it pretty fucking clear that I'd missed my chance. Now, he was just laying there, next to the corpse. Junior Detective Grot Salto. Graduated mega cum laude from Mega City Mega Academy the same year as me, though he was held back for 2 years, cause he mega failed his first set of mega graduation exams. It weren't nothing personal, but he was gonna robo-rat on the wrong robo-cats. Junior Detective is a misnomer. We're just glorified interns, learning the salty ropes of justice implementation, and our only reimbursement is getting to kick a guy in the head every now and again. One way or another, we end up in the pocket of somebody more powerful just to get by. All it is that I happen to be in the pocket of the Riverside tech mob. Grot Salto stuck his fingers where they didn't belong, and started to look like loose change himself. I had to make ends meet, by which I mean the end of my bullets, meeting the end of his brainstem. Chief didn't seem to mind that Frank was bleeding out, just put his fat head in his metal hands and told us to carry on as normal. Sent one of us out around the local area to check out the scene, one of us into one of the mega buildings to ask after the victim, and left me in charge of inspecting the body territory, which was a real stroke of luck for me I counted to him what I saw, leaving out as much as I could since he only saw me as a baby with a badge, and I didn't want to out myself as fully grown. He was wearing his uniform still, made it easier for me to identify him, since our cop codes are hard copied onto the sleeves. No sign of foul play, I told him, besides the 13 bullet holes where his face used to be. No contraband or money in his pockets, since I'd already grabbed all of that. Shouldn't I be wearing gloves? I asked him. You know, so they don't suspect me of joining him. Chief shook his head.
Don't need evidence when Frank Uture's around, lad. You're just ticking off paperwork here. Once he's back up and at 'em, the day'll be over.
I noticed, then, as I was jabbing my fingers into Grot Salto's ribs, that he'd been wearing an eye wire the whole time. It was a recording device for snitches. They sell them at the mega Tesco's. It doesn't just capture what you hear, but what you see, which meant that I'd been caught on camera blowing my lead nose into his meat tissue. I had only this one chance to get rid of it, but I had to get all eyes off of me first. I continued to prod around and, carefully, withdrew a packet of fiberglass cigarettes from my pocket. "Hey," I said, taking one for myself and then tossing the rest of the packet to the chief. "Looky what I found." I chucked it right past him, and he took the bait. As he scrabbled for the pack, I poked my way into Grot Salto's button-up, peeled the wire off his skin, wrapping its length around my fist like I was removing an electronic tapeworm, then discreetly pocketing it by playing that I was looking for my lighter. I lit my cigarette and enjoyed the cool menthol and the sharp fibers embedding themselves into my lungs. Once I was done, I tossed the butt onto the ground, and yet another thing caught my eye. I really never was meant to be a cop. It didn't matter, of course. I mean, the chief had already said that you don't need evidence when Frank Uture's around. I just didn't know what he meant. It was a bullet casing. Specifically, it was one of my bullet casings. I thought I'd picked them all up, but I must have miscounted. Killing a guy in cold blood is pretty stressful like. Anyway, I made eye contact with the chief and deduced that he had not yet seen it. Bashful, I walked over to the cigarette butt and picked it up, palming the casing as I did. "Sorry," I said. "Litterbug."
Wilder, you fucking moron! It's the future! You can't litter in the future! We all live on a big floating pile of shit in the middle of the ocean. We've killed the entire world, and all that's left is to squish the shit into a comfy little pillow and sleep in the big shit bed that we've made in our hubris.
"You're right, Chief," I said. "And now, I've got shit in my pockets."
Fucking shit pocket Wilder, he said. By the grace of the machine god, you're gonna go to your digital grave with that name.
After a little while, the hot rain stopped, and I'd inhaled more than my fair share of fiberglass. A medic bot came juttering in. It hobbled on 8 legs like a spider, and had a medley of other hands shooting upwards, each equipped with different tools they used to revive officers downed on duty, especially if they haven't paid off all their Mega Academy mega debts yet. The big they, the corporation in charge of building these horrible little bots, didn't think to build these things with bulletproof chassis, so they tended to get beaten up quite a lot. They're not cheap either, so there's only so many of them. What I'm saying is, generally speaking, the medic bots are all veterans, so they're missing a few bits and bolts here and there. For example, as soon as it was on the scene, huffing and puffing as if it had been built with human lungs, it started to get to work on the deceased.
This officer is dead. Yeah, no shit, you fucking droido. We know he's dead. You're supposed to be working on this one.
My mistake, it sighed.
Please don't hit me.
And so, the robot crawled over to Frank Uture and started pouring smelling salts right out of its asshole directly into Frank's mouth. And by gum, he shot up like a Frankenstein, declared his undying love for the medic bot, announced their engagement and a date for them to be wed, and then fell right back to sleep in a puddle of the hot rain. I was told to hit him again, and I got all worked up about my second chance, but before I could smack him good, Frank woke up again and declared that he not only knew who'd done it, but that he could have the investigation over in one quick move, like a hollow Mancala savant. He pointed his big robot finger up to the sky, and with the rage and fury of the machine god, he stated with confidence that the killer is with us right now. And then he keeled over, grabbed his middle bit and started rolling around on the ground, going,
"Oh, my tummy hurts. I'm so full of glass and numbers. Oh, ow."
I started to run, right then and there. I knew he'd gotten it right, I just didn't understand how. It wasn't until I was arrested that I was told exactly how the deductive power of Frank Uture actually worked. Once he's got that clock in him, and he's been inundated with a battering, he is gifted a vision of the future. And in that vision, Frank saw me standing here in this 2x4 cell, telling this dumbass fucking droido my story in these exact words. He saw me go to trial through the fog of pain and bloody shits. Saw me judged guilty by a jury of my peers during the time that he would inevitably be getting surgery to remove all the glass and numbers from his tummy. And he saw me put to electronic death by the time he was somewhere else in the megacity, working up a new appetite for time and justice. And since it cuts down on faffing around with any of that in the real world, and all it costs the city is one surgery to replace a man's throat, stomach, intestines, and asshole, I was thrown into this cell and told to tell you my tale. This episode of the Bone Zone Half Hour is sponsored by the following message. Coming this Oscar season to home entertainment. From the director of 19 episodes of Malcolm in the Middle. Years after the fugitive orangutan Dunstan was adopted by Kyle Grant and relocated to Bali, the two have cemented themselves as the world's greatest hoteliers. Now, for one last time, Kyle's life is changing. Oh, Dunstan, don't leave me. I've started a GoFundMe for your treatment. 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment presents the story of a boy and a monkey who started off as friends but ended up as family. Command performance from Eric Lloyd as Kyle Grant, and in the role of a lifetime, Sam the orangutan. Dunstan checks out. I thought, when I worked at that American-style diner, where we'd go stretches of 7 days without a single table, where we'd spend all day deep cleaning just to look busy on camera, only to come back in the next day and clean the same fucking surfaces over and over again in a Sisyphusian cycle of scuffed knees and chemically burned fingertips, and where the only thing on the 86 list was my will to live, that it was the worst job I'd ever had, that it literally could not get worse, and that I would, eventually, be fossilized by boredom, fall backwards, and smack myself into pebbles. But actually, it turns out that doing lots and lots of work is a whole ton worse than doing no work whatso-fucking-ever. I'm working front of house at a luxury farm-to-table, pet nat wine, big air quotes, English cuisine kind of place. The sort of place where you can get a teeny tiny beef Wellington as a starter, but the pork pie is a main. I've got the kind of table I dread most on my docket tonight. A birthday pre-order. This means that half of my section is a 20 top, built out of segments of 2 for 19 covers, reserved only a week ago under the name Gregory Spaff, the gentleman whose birthday it is. He has been sitting at the head of the table, by choice. We purposely do not sit them on the end because it is inconvenient to the servers to wriggle past a rogue chair, for 15 minutes now. Reservation time isn't for another 35 minutes, but he came in a soaking wet Macintosh, it is not raining outside, and the second his rot-eaten boots hit the carpet, he put on a conical paper party hat. Happy birthday, Gregory Spaff. I leave him be for a bit, There's water on the table, both in a bottle from the fridge and in the form of droplets off his sleeves. I went to water the plants round the back, meaning I went for a cigarette, and I'm telling you, it's bone dry out there. There hasn't been a lick of rain since last Tuesday. When I come back, I drop in on him. "How you doing over here?" I ask him. "Can I get you anything?" Gregory Spaff asks what beers we've got in. He didn't even pick up the menu. It's not like they're hard to find, you don't even have to open it. Front page, I just point at them. A row of 5 piss lagers, one IPA that used to be cool but got bought out by one of the 4 companies that own all of the breweries, and an 86th cider that we've never actually had in because, by all accounts, it doesn't exist. Spaff, intrigued, goes for the cider, and I have to explain that it was gonna be a house blend of forest fruits and Hereford ice cider, but it only got as far as the planning stages because the supplier never actually pitched the idea to the Pomeliers.
"Oh,"
says Gregory Spaff.
"and you don't have it then?
I shake my head.
That's a shame."
He shakes his head too, and I think he's mimicking me. Somehow, as if he gives off a miasma of disappointment, I feel as if I've ruined his birthday celebration before it's even begun.
"So, what beers do you have then?"
Gregory Spaff is not my only table, so I bring him a beer and move myself around the restaurant as he waits for his 18 guests. There is a couple on table 39 sharing a plate of whitebait. One eats the batter, and the other the fish. They have been here for an hour and a half now. There is a man on the foretop table 44 who ordered a side salad with his main, picked out all the red onion, ate all that, then asked for it to be taken off the bill. I bus off table 47 and find that the uneaten Cornish pasty has in fact been eaten. At least all the beefy filling has been eaten. The pasty has been left whole, stuffed with Kleenexes and napkins, all damp, and because we split the rubbish into food and other, I've got to pick 'em out by hand, else the KP will hit me on the back of the head with a hammer. My time is filled, and before I know it, those spare 35 minutes have been and gone, and Gregory Spaff is still waiting for his cohorts. The kitchen is furious at me because this is my fault, of course. I should have checked the email used for the reservation. I should have hacked into it and sent a personal and threatening message to his guests to ensure their prompt arrival. I should have run my way through the long dead yellow pages and left a message on the extinct answering machines of every Spaff in the area from Arnold Spaff to Zelda Johnson, nay Spaff, just so that they could get the starters off the pass. I dip over to his table, drop a shoulder, and ask if he has an ETA.
"No,"
he tells me flatly.
"they should already be here."
This hurts me a little bit, especially since I have to tell him, "I'm sorry, Mr. Gregory Spaff, but because of how our reservation system works, I will have to bring out the starters in 20 minutes, regardless of if everybody arrives."
"Oh,"
he tells me, still flat.
"Well, I suppose you have to do what you have to do, don't you?"
And then he readjusts his party hat and looks down at his beer. He has sipped up all of the fluffy head, and now it looks a little like his attitude. Happy birthday, Gregory Spaff. It's a Wednesday night, which means the kitchen does close at 9 p.m. Generally speaking, the hour between 7:45 and 8:45 is quiet, only for 3 or 4 tables to pop in right before we all give up and go home. But tonight, it is different, and I am occupied at all times. A woman wearing quash-resistant lipstick asks if we serve brand-name fish. I pinch the space between my eyebrows hard enough to burst a capillary. I look behind me, and Gregory Spaff is all on his own, eating his starter, which, from a distance, appears to be a kind of rat king of steak strips. An old man asks if there's any cheddar on the cheese board, and I resist the urge to smack him upside the head until his toupee is skew-if. I mean, imagine toiling in your cheese dungeon for 30 months or whatever, and coming out with a fucking cheddar. Over my shoulder, Gregory Spaff is helping himself to his mother's salmon cups. I walk myself into the kitchen and the chef yells at me to ask if Spaff's table is mains away or not. I tell him that they've still not arrived and he tells me to go fuck myself. In my defense, it is my fault. I should have foreseen this happening. I personally should have gone out and picked Mrs. Gregory Spaff and Gregory Spaff Sr. and little Gregory Spaff Jr. and all the other Spafflings on the back of my electric scooter and delivered them here with their bellies empty and their hides tanned. I can't do it. I can't send his mains out while he's the only one sitting at his table, wearing that goddamn paper hat while he's just raw-dogging the wait. I mean, he's not even scrolling through his phone, just staring at the front door to the restaurant. I scrabble behind him so that I am not seen, and I borrow the ear of the floor manager and I ask them how to deal with this. And they pinch the space between their eyebrows until a capillary bursts, and they leave the building for a smoke. And when they come back, they tell me to give him another 30 minutes. After that, they would tell me what to do with him. Happy birthday, Gregory Spaff. Well, those 30 minutes go by and I do everything I can not to go to his table. That's not right, by the way, I'm well aware of that. I know I should pop over every 10 minutes or so just to see if he needed anything or to lighten the mood or whatever, but to be totally fucking honest with you, I do not get paid enough to revel in the destruction of a man's concept of love. Instead, I ask Table 29 where they're from, why they're here, and what they're doing next, despite the fact that I have never in my life asked a table any more than 1.5 questions. I clear Table 37 and intentionally drop 2 plates, watch them shatter, and apologize profusely just to soak up those extra few minutes. I take a dessert over to Table 40 and for the first time in my career willingly sing the happy birthday song, holding the final note, and even dropping a "and many more" at the end of it. I silently send brainquakes to the 2 ladies on Table 30, desperate for them to eat their goddamn food, which has been on the table for 25 minutes now, but they're too busy taking pictures of themselves around the restaurant, and I swear to God, if I have to send it back to the kitchen because it's cold, I will literally murder one of them. And, before I know it, the internal egg timer rings out and Gregory Spaff's time is up. Those mains either need to be cancelled or sent out. I imagine the chef has already had an aneurysm and has therefore been replaced by the equally angry and desperate to go home sous chef. I find my manager and she is staring at his bill like it's the Dead Sea Scrolls or something, just pure brought to tears by the near 4-digit number at the bottom of it. "Have they made it yet?" she mutters to herself before dashing off in the direction of the kitchen. 3 minutes later, she comes back, sweating and swearing to herself. "Whew, I told him to cancel all of the mains except for that one guy, Greg Spaff. Yeah, Spaff. Now, I've spoken to the other waiters and the bartenders because they've all been checking in to see what happens. Yeah? And we've all agreed that we'll split the starters and his main between us and give him the drink on the house." "That's pretty generous," I said, thinking about my already slim payslip. "Yeah, well," she said, directly pointing a finger at old Gregory Spaff, "that is the saddest fucking thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And I did 2 tours." Gregory Spaff, at the head of an empty table, eats his comped pork pie. He does not finish it. He leaves behind a trail of crumbs, the pea shoot garnish, and the layer of aspic that lies in the hyphen between the pie and the pork. As he gets up, he leaves behind a puddle in his chair. He apologizes And he thanks all of us individually, like he's the President of the United States, but one of the nice ones, like Jimmy Carter, probably, and maybe JFK? I should have picked a different simile, to be honest with you. He shakes my hand, specifically, and then the manager's hand, and she is wet-eyed at the state of him. There's something there, I think. I think, really, we can all see ourselves becoming Gregory Spaff, or Gregory Spaff adjacent, at least. Somewhere down the line if we're not careful. And it cuts us all deep. Nobody wants to be Gregory Spaff. Not even Gregory Spaff, I imagine. And then, the funniest thing happens. It's a couple of days later, maybe a week, but not 2, I'm certain. I take a week off every 6 weeks because those paid holiday days don't carry over, and also, I'm pretty sure people fought and died for my right to do that, and it would be a disservice to them if I didn't do exactly what I want with my time. What I'm trying to say is that my choice to take some time off is unrelated to the Spaff incident. It really didn't affect me that much in the grand scheme of things. In retrospect, becoming Gregory Spaff actually seemed pretty difficult. Anyway, there I am, out at a restaurant having a busman's holiday, watching the staff zoom by and maybe picking up a few tips and tricks here and there, just seeing how the competition does their thing, how they garnish their martinis, how they earn their tips. And I noticed there in the corner of the restaurant, a 20 top with 19 sets of cutlery. And I hope for their sakes that they don't have a Spaff incident. I hope they don't have to look into some poor sucker's eyes and see themselves in the future, however briefly, cold and sopping wet but pitied. And who the fuck walks in but Gregory Spaff himself? He's got his conical party hat on. He's inexplicably wet despite the dry heat of the summer. He's looking blank-faced and tired. And he sits himself down, dragging one chair from its proper position to the inconvenient space at the head of the table, and it hits me. He conned us, did Gregory Spaff. He's done it before, and he'll do it again. And, well, I've had a few drinks at this point, so I think to myself, well, he, at the very least, owes me a meal. So I take myself over and I pull out the chair and I sit myself beside him, and together we wait for nobody else to show. I lean over and I shake his hand and I say to him with all of my heart, "Happy birthday, Gregory Spaff." This has been the Sleepy Bones Detective Agency, non-profit, not out of kindness, but out of spite. You have been listening to the Bone Zone Half Hour, the only half hour that really knows that the early bird gets the worm, but what does the early worm get? Eaten? How's that for rise and grind? And you think you're the bird in this economy? I have been your host, Jake Lucy, a man banned from his local post office after threatening to rip the rights for small soldiers out of Joe Dante's cold, dead hands. This audio zine is copyright 2025. All resemblance to actual persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Even Gregory Spaff, who I know in real life, and if I ever see you at the big Tesco's again, mate, it'll be the last Yazoo you ever fucking drink. If you enjoyed this show, get your Moomin wallet out and slip your bank card between my digital cheeks at patreon.com/SBDA. We can also be found on Spotify, a cold and empty wasteland if you're that way inclined. Or you can just go to carefulthere'sbones.com and feed my ego. Until next time, remember to have a good night, be nice or die, and eat small amounts of poison every morning to build up your tolerance. Disclaimer, don't do this. Stay safe, or don't!